Yeah, so I would say that the problem in general here, as I see it, is that we have too much technology that is bad and too little understanding of how to use technology for good and what actually is good technology and why and when we should use technology and for what. So the lack of general understanding of how to be productive in a healthy sense of the word with technology. So we have a lot of pedagogical research behind these developments that has not really been transferred to decision makers or teachers. There's a lot of PhDs out there who just write articles and they don't really communicate publicly or they don't write publicly about this. It just stays in scientific journals most of the time. But I would want to ask about Brazil in specific. So how large or wide of a problem is this in Brazil? Let's say the negative use of technology in general. Before we go into, let's say, EdTech, like really good educational technology that could allow more access to education, as we know that if you have a smartphone connected to the internet through a satellite connection or whatever, you can get access to a lot of information or a lot of good opportunities that you might need to advance. But beyond, if you don't know how to talk to other people, it might not help you. So yeah,
Exactly.
how do you see that in Brazil, and you can maybe compare to Latin America and countries in general?
Yeah, I think that right now, for instance, I saw also a couple of weeks ago that a few cities in the country are in public schools are prohibiting the use of cell phones during the class time. So you're not allowed to use your cell phone. You must be focusing in the classroom during that time. But at the same time, I believe that in Brazil and also in the countries due their very unique socioeconomic situation, this is not a problem yet. So you have maybe probably the lack of skills or the developing of the lack of skills, if we can use this word, not as advanced in Brazil or other countries in the region as we have in the United States or as we have in Europe. But nowadays, I would like to share a few examples of companies, Johnny, of EdTech companies that are doing such an amazing job about the implementation and going pretty tailor-made, focused tailor-made solutions in this problem of literacy. So, in Peru, we have this Peruvian EdTech company called Sima Robot. So they developed an AI automated online and offline mini robot that helps people, help young kids to learn and to do their homeworks. So this is something, the use of technology with a very, very, very focused purpose in order to change people's lives. And they also not only right now at this moment working with young kids, but also with elderly. So you know that the other people are allowed or are more close to depressions. So they're developing also a solution that also able to help those the elderly people. At the same time, also in Brazil, there is a EdTech company called Eletros that just received a couple of months ago a huge round of investments from our ventures that is using AI to help kids to read in order, the pedagogical curriculum and also working together with the professors, because as you also mentioned for a couple of seconds ago, Johnny, the implementation of solutions, of technological solutions, is not only something about between the schools, universities, or the public policies. It also depends from the parents. It also depends from the teachers. So that is this main point that we, basically are not talking to about the teachers, about the faculty, how those people are ready to use the adoption of technology. Not only the students, not only the parents, but also the entire faculty, how are prepared, or how they are being prepared to the adoption and use of new technologies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big challenge, and I see a lot of investments. We can go to investments, especially EdTech VC investments in a bit. But I see that decisions when it comes to adoption of technological trainings for the teaching faculty is usually also, in my mind, misguided, and you have big tech giants promoting these trainings about specific technological environments, whereas it takes quite a long time for teachers to actually change their ways of teaching and learning, managing, let's say, a classroom and all the content that they get also from outside. Whereas generations of students, young people, basically just go to school and watch teachers try to work. And there's not much learning happening. And the technologies chosen are not really helping kids to learn. And then when you learn, like UNESCO, to refer to UNESCO, mentioned in a study a few years ago that, let's say, about Africa, that we have more and more schooling in Africa, but there's not much modern learning and development happening for the kids in those schools. So they will not really be able to compete on a global level, or not even a, let's say, local level, because they don't have real life skills. And we can talk about life skills more. I mean, I was also, let's say, developing quite a lot of life skills myself in Colombia, like starting 20 years ago when I went to Colombia for the first time. And I was observing how young people, like in rough neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, but with big happy smiles, were like dancing salsa with their family members from the age of 7, 8, with a lot of courage, a lot of, let's say, these social skills that we don't have in the Nordics, in Finland, in Sweden.
Perfect.
And so here we don't really talk so much to our neighbors. We don't really have big families, big networks of people. We have a few trusted friends, maybe small families, and we're not really developing social skills in the society. So we have social skills and these new modern 21st century skills in our latest curriculum. Well, since 2016, we have a so-called skills-based curriculum that has been updated continuously since then. But on a society level, we haven't still seen much development. Maybe the alpha generation, which is where my son is 9 years old now, that might be a generation that have parents who understand the negative, let's say, implications of technology, excess use of technology, and might go back to these traditional, let's say, life skills, like the ones that my grandmother had. Like, she's 94 now, she still lives, an amazing social person, and was a communicator of the family, loves talking. So we've developed into, let's say, a too individualized society where we are too academically educated and know that we can take care of ourselves, and we have a good profession, we know how to do things, we're independent, but then we have become too independent, in my mind. So we don't really need other people in a sense, in a conscious sense, but then at the same time we get more and more depressed because somehow we still need that physical connection. And that's something that we still have in Latin America a lot, in the Spanish-speaking countries, well, in Southern Europe. And I think we need to appreciate that and really celebrate that. And also, I usually mention examples from Colombia, like you have teenagers who negotiate and argue with their teachers about bad grades. And they really learn how to negotiate with their teachers, and at the same time develop a nice, close relationship with the teacher. Although they get a bad grade to show their parents, and no one really appreciates their great social skills. You don't see it anywhere because you only appreciate the academic grade. And then do you get into the university or not? It depends on the grade. And then all your skills that you could develop in connection with academia sometime later in life is kind of lost. And I also think that we pressure, just one final point about the importance of higher education. So I think we pressure higher education too much in Latin American countries too early, when kids don't have the life skills necessary to understand what they actually want to do with life. Why is some different specific topics interesting to me, or what am I good at? What do I like to do? What, without real life experience enough. And that's where I think the vocational approach might be a healthy way to to learn more about real professions, real life opportunities before you really go and specialize in higher education, because we see many times, well, all over the world, but a lot of the times in Latin America, I've seen that people drop off and change careers, change their interests towards something else, and it takes some time until they actually graduate. And maybe you can relate this to the dropout rates that you might see in higher education and what you're doing about that in relation to this, let's say, life skills towards productive purposes in life versus, let's say, the academia that might be coming too soon when you have pressure from parents and society.
No, that's something pretty interesting, because I was having a conversation with EdTech entrepreneur that he's EdTech developing social skills mapping in order to help students to decide what college, what kind of program they should be more related to when he wants to go to college. And of course, when you have 17, 16, you don't have a truly experience from life to say, oh, especially a few cases, of course, in most of the cases you have, but okay, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer, I want to go to engineer. But that also, Johnny, I believe if we are able to help those kids with technology to understand, oh, I want to be an engineer, but where my social skills, where my skills really are, or my personality is taking me to go to become a doctor, not an engineer. So also we can discuss here how technology are able to help someone to become an adult in the right profession, in the right role. So there's a lot of the things to discuss also in this area.
Yeah, and I see also that when it comes to technology, I mean, you have a lot of solutions that are made available thanks to investments. So if we go to VC investments in education technology for a while, so you need a lot of marketing to be visible in today's world with the chaos of technological solutions everywhere, from everywhere. And when you have also VCs having been educated very traditionally, valuing, maybe sometimes overvaluing these traditional knowledge-based skills rather than maybe life-based skills. What's your take on that? I mean, I have a lot of opinions, but let's hear your take on that. Like, do you see that VC investments are going into the correct EdTech companies, EdTech solutions that are actually helping the country develop forward? Or is it maybe doing more of the old things in a faster way that might not help the real development of society? And we can maybe relate this to the last 3 years of EdTech investments going down very harshly. I don't know in relationship to fintech how it is, but we had a peak in the beginning of the pandemic, but then the last few years it's been going down very much. And of course, those investments were mostly in later stage companies. And I personally believe that we need a lot of more investment in early stage companies that are maybe more connected to the latest research. There's a lot of spin-offs also from university research that might not have the same financial traction as these later stage companies. And I have some opinions on where we should invest if we're investing in education technology and if we want to contribute to positive impact and not just impact, because I think we need to really also differentiate between the impact that technological solutions have based on a lot of investments and a lot of let's say penetration in the markets and a lot of engagement, and is that really healthy or unhealthy? That's something that needs to be studied. So that doesn't say anything about the positive healthy impact, and I think we need to focus much more on the positive healthy impact and make sure that we know that the kids are becoming healthier, more, let's say, prepared for life thanks to these technologies. And I don't really see that yet. But I don't know about the Brazilian situation, so maybe you can enlighten me on that.
No, I totally believe, Johnny, just to complete a little bit of what you just mentioned in your last lines, it's that the funding will help. I believe that this is a circle, that this is a movement that is gonna to change pretty fast. But let me give you also a little bit of a glimpse from what's happening in the VC world for Latin America. So let's go back a little bit in time. Way back in 2019, we had in the Latin America a little bit more than $7 billion of investment in venture capital for actually in the entire world, not only in the EdTech. Basically, most of them were related to China. So we have in 2019 and 2020, more than 50% of the investment in the EdTech venture capital were in China. And we all know that after 2020, after the pandemic, China has changed absolutely completely how they are managing their education system related to private funding. So part of this.
Yeah, it became illegal to make a profit in the education sector.
Exactly.
So big problem for lots of edtechs also from Finland who were very highly invested in China. So yeah, exactly. That was a big impact.
So absolutely. So we have in 2019 to 2020, we have this circle of up. So we have 7 billion round investments to 20 billion round of investment until the late 2021. This is huge in a global perspective. A little bit of 2% of these $20 billion are related to Latin America. Most of them, since them, are related to our focus on the US market and also the European market. When we talk about Brazil, and also in Latin America, we have interesting numbers. We didn't have any major, big, phenomenal round of investments from VC in the last couple of years, but we still have companies in the region and also in Brazil that were the biggest B series of round investments and also the biggest A series of round investments during that time. Of course, right now, after this boom of investments in the last couple of years, the VC companies are looking for the right product fit and the right companies in order to invest. So what would be the next big thing? Of course, we have the implementation of AI that will change. I have been talking with some investment companies. They say, Thiago, we are just waiting the right timing because the funds are getting bigger and bigger. We have some examples that the money is not stopping, but they are not investing.
Yeah.
And some people right now are telling me that, Thiago, we are just waiting the next big thing about AI with the right product fit, with the right market in order for us to invest. So we have at the same time, we still have the lifelong learning. We still have the workforce and tech companies there more than ever, as you see the Accenture movement that bought for that will invest $1.5 billion in the workforce. So we mentioned the gap of skills, and we see a major as Accenture looking for that problem. So talking a little bit more about the VC rounds, people are really waiting for the unleash of 2024, the development of 2024 to say, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is where we're going to invest, because after the pandemic, it was a lot of money, a lot of VC rounds. And now with the collapse of China, the change, especially also in India, with the things are changing over there, we see in the region VC rounds just waiting the right moment to invest. So I believe for the next couple of months, or even though in the second from the second semester and on, things really happening, because once again, everything related to artificial intelligence technology, it's improving so fast, it's changing, it's developing so fast,
Yeah.
that's for sure, that's something really big, that something really huge investment route is going to happen in the next couple of months, that's for sure, in the region.
So yeah, it might be also that investors have the same complication of selecting, like as teachers have, like what solution when there's like so many.
Absolutely.
And especially the boom since the pandemic of all kinds of technological solutions that are difficult to filter, let's say, both pedagogically, but also related to the product market fit, that I would also question a little bit, because I really want us to, when we talk with impact investors specifically, I want us to generate positive impact through the right kind of investments rather than wait for what product is used the most. Well, we could invest in TikTok, but we might also know that the regulators might do something about that in a couple of years when we realize that, yeah, this is causing more harm than good. A question to you about this year, then, the investments. So do you predict that this year we will catch up again and be back where we were in 2019, more or less, or not really yet? So if we look at what I would also say is that we had a healthy adoption of technology, in a sense, where we had to go and sell the positive benefits of technology in education still in 2019. Like, why do you need to use technology? In 2020, 21, no one needed to explain to anyone why we needed technological solutions. But then we also had the negative impact of having too many technological solutions that, in my mind, and I'm sure we have a lot of research on this, did not really generate any positive learning impact. So what do you feel like now with AI maybe being the big thing, and let's say more advanced technologies, do you think we will be back where we were in 2019, or not really yet? Because I feel like we really need a lot of investments in the sector of EdTech, but also looking at, I think, having a stronger filter. I think investors are also more critical against what kind of EdTechs they invest in.
Yeah, I believe that we have, when we're talking about this, Johnny, we have a complex situation. So as you mentioned, it's not easy. So when you look from the Brazilian perspective, let's take it out other countries from the region. So here in Brazil, we are talking about almost 900 EdTech companies. So how I'm able to show to the market, how I'm able to show to investors that I'm really solving a problem, that I'm really impacting. So I'm not talking about a service provider, an EdTech provider, but I'm talking about my pitch that's going to say, hey, I do have this solution that will impact positive lives, that will generate impact. So we have this problem of how in a pool, such a complex market, how I can, raise my hand and say, hey, I can be your next big thing. On the other hand, you have the way how technology is moving so fast. So something that you're working on it, project market fit for a couple of years, out of the boom, with implementation of the new technology, that changes completely. So how are you gonna adapt your product at that time? And also, we are able to see that VC companies are saying that what happened in 2020, what happened in 2021, it's not going to happen again. It was a peak, extraordinary peak. But we are really able to go, especially in a global perspective. We are really looking forward to reach the numbers as we were in 2019. Or even though a mix between 2019 2020, because that is a lot of technology, that is a lot of big companies, that is a lot of entrepreneurs looking the generation and creation of social impact technologies. Also, something pretty interesting, Johnny, that we have seen, especially during the pandemic, it's about mental health. Mental health. So that is a lot of entrepreneurs also focusing not only about the impact of create solutions for improve education, but also how we are able to protect our kids to disorders, because at the same time, our society is totally different. We have this screen time that's all over the place. People that are using TikTok, talking about TikTok, I believe that it was the U.S. Senate that they are working. The House passes a bill that could lead the U.S. to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how big would be,
Yeah.
and how that would impact society? So that is a lot of moving parts at this
Definitely.
moment.
But I've also heard about research indicating that we've had since like 2017 already research about the negative impacts of social media, and that sooner or later, like within a couple of years, some see that, okay, we will start increasing the social media age limit to 16 at least as one of the measures. And there will be a lot of regulations. Our presidential candidates in Finland just a couple of months ago also had these points when talking about social media as a big problem, referring to the algorithms that no one really counted on, and now that we have to have some kind of regulation there. So I think it has to come sooner or later, because like the mental health solutions as well. I mean, to create technological solutions for a problem that was generated by technology makes it like, okay, let's just skip the investments and delete the first problem causing technology, so you wouldn't have to invest in that. So I see also mental health among a lot of generations, a lot of kids in the modern generations, as a symptom rather than a problem. So we have to go to the root problem and fix that. It doesn't make sense to just put a lot of money in, let's say, trying to cure the disease instead of preventing the disease from coming in the first place. But okay, so I would love to have a follow-up conversation with you about maybe more specifics, but still on a general level, what do you see Brazil could maybe need from other markets when it comes to technological solutions, other kind of solutions for the education sector, from basic education to higher education? And what do you think Brazil could offer the world, both Latin America in general, because you have so many technological solutions that you can scale internationally, and maybe even to all the way to Europe and Finland? What would you say on that?
Absolutely. Let me start answer your question with the second part. So I believe that Brazil could absolutely export their expertise and the amount of their expertise in solve to other countries with similar realities as Brazil has. So especially in Africa, especially in poor countries in the region, we have so many tech entrepreneurs, and also they are dealing with this challenge to implement technology, not only in different markets, in different verticals, also in the K-12 and also in universities. At the same time, I would love to see Brazil listen to countries as Finland, and because it's not a simple equation, you have different layers of this problem, but I would love to see Brazil also adopting or looking for to adapt solutions that has been beautifully already done and implemented in countries as Finland. So I would love to see, public policies that are really helping people to go to the school. So once again, can you imagine, Johnny, 10% of the population of Finland not going to the universities, not able to reach a degree? That's enormous. That's huge. That generates a really complex impact in our society. So I would love to see this exchange of, this is what we do. Of course, it's not a copy paste formula. You have to tropicalize. You have to understand that something will not work as it worked in other countries. But I would love to see this philosophy and the best practices of the implementation of not only education technologies, but also curriculums. So this is the examples. This is what we're gonna do. Let's start in a small scale, and then implement for the cities, other states, even though in the country. But I would really love to see this exchange between best practices of things that have been working so well in major countries of Europe being adopting here in Brazil and also in other countries in our region.
Fantastic. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to talk about then. And I'm very happy to have been able to talk to you today, and I would love to continue the conversation then in a next opportunity. Thank you very much, Thiago. Any final words from your side, encouragement to maybe teachers, parents who might be worried in these times of both too fast development of technology, maybe in one sense, but also the mental health issues and the problems with higher education opportunities? What let's say light at the end of the tunnel do you see that you would like to highlight in all of this?
Yeah, I would say that for the parents, for instance, that don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to say no. The no is a necessary word. Don't be afraid to do research and see what is the best way to implement a program in your house for your kids. How to be able to help your kids. There is a lot of things to discuss, that's for sure. But don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to take it off your mobile devices from the kids, because if necessary. There is a lot of information. There's a lot of things going on the internet, and also for your audience, Johnny, there is a lot of things going on in Latam. There is a lot of opportunities happening in Brazil, and also once again, thank you so much for the conversation. It has been a fantastic opportunity of this exchange.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to connecting again, and also to be able to visit you soon also.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much, Thiago. Have a good one, and talk to you next time.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.